Today's readings are all about how important it is to believe the Samaritan woman. Coming to believe after Christ tells her of her life, goes and tells others of her new faith in this Messiah, who came to her well, and urges them to meet him so they too can believe. And they go, and they hear him, they're fascinated, they invite him to stay. He stays for another 2 days. And after they've experienced Christ in this manner, they too believe. They see him, they believe, and their lives are changed forever. And how their lives are changed through the living water of Christ is a process known as justification through Christ. This is a term the theologians use. And I've long been fascinated by the whole concept of it, because it's one of the few things that actually divides a number of the Christian denominations. It's something that has been interpreted differently by different groups. And how it works is seen somewhat differently by different groups. It's really all about the forgiveness that we obtain through faith, through baptism in Christ. While some denominations emphasize that good works are really the pathway to heaven. Sure, you have to be baptized, but then you have to do good works. You know, personally, I find this just about the scariest notion in the Bible. Well, you know, my scariest one is when we say the Lord's Prayer and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, which is really, really scary. But when I start imagining this good works being the gateway to heaven, I start imagining God sitting up on some accounting cloud in the heavens, entering credits when we're nice and when we're charitable and when we're friendly or courageous or missional, when we're obeying his word. You know, all those kind of things he's checking off. Oh, good today, good today. But then on the debit side of the ledger, when we're nasty or rude or cruel or lazy or we're breaking any of the commandments, or we're failing to love him and our neighbor. Well, I don't know about you, but I know I would be so far in the red that I would never get near the judgment seat or the gates of heaven if that was happening. So no, I don't like the notion of God as Santa Claus going to find out who's been naughty and nice. Fortunately, I'm Anglican. We believe that that's not our fate, and this is one of the great divisions. Because the Orthodox and the Roman Catholics believe that baptism is the first step, excuse me, on the way to salvation, necessary. But if you commit what's known as a mortal sin, that's one of the biggies. If you break a mortal sin and you are not forgiven in this world, you're not forgiven in the next. And while I think it's very important that we not sin big sins or even little ones if we can avoid them, as an Anglican, I believe that my sins were forgiven and taken away in Christ's blood, not in how I live my life. How I live my life is certainly influenced by what I believe. I believe in Christ. I believe in the rules and regulations and so on set down in the Old Testament, but I particularly believe in loving God of my neighbor. And I believe that that influences how I live. And I think that anybody who believes in Christ and in God and in eternity wants to live a better life because it's good PR for God and for the Christ, for all we believe in. I mean, if we're horrible people, what does that say about Christianity? So I think that by our faith and our desire to please God, we live better lives than we would otherwise. But it's only in living a faithful life that it counts. Now, justification, the way the Anglicans and Protestants define it, it's God's act of removing the guilt and penalty of sin, declaring a sinner righteous through Christ's death, that